Hey everybody, it's Keylime again here with another weekly preview. So I wanted to start this video real quick with an update. What Gems of War is planning on doing now, as you probably saw from my quickie update video, they're going to be changing how event weapons are distributed. So none of this is changing how it's currently done, but they're actually adding in some new stuff. So when you get flash offers that kind of pop up here, there's an opportunity that that flash offer is now going to include some rare old event weapons. So if you think things like Earth's Fury or Flammifier or Trickster's Shot, those things might start popping up now as flash offers. Also within the soulforge, you're going to be able to craft these kinds of weapons as well. So if you scroll through here, you'll notice that this week War and Peace is in there. So this is not something that's normally crafted. This is there because it's a Kazil weapon. It's a Kazil week as far as the kingdom goes, so now it's being offered as something that you can actually craft. So definitely keep your eyes inside the soulforge. I'll make sure to highlight anything that's coming up that I think is of note. War and Peace is not especially useful. But as far as cost goes, it's not too extravagant. 300 diamonds isn't nothing, but it's not crazy. And for some of those really good old weapons, if they pop up in here, they're definitely going to be worth your time. So I just wanted to give a quick update on that. You might start seeing flash offers for weapons. You might start seeing new weapons in the soulforge, so please keep your eyes in there. And again, I'll make sure to highlight if something really interesting pops up in there. The flash offers that you're going to get are personalized to you as far as they said, so you're not going to be offered the same weapons as other people in your guild or other friends that you're playing with. It's going to supposedly look at what you already have and try and offer you things you don't have. I believe they said it would be $5 to get it, and it would come with some gems. So honestly, not the worst thing in the world. Admittedly, for myself, I plan on jumping in if I see them offering a Flammifier or an Earth's Fury or a Trickster Shot myself. I believe Flammifier is actually going to be craftable in 2 weeks from now. So not next week's thing, but the one after that. But again, keep your eyes inside the Soulforge, and the flash offers that pop up might be fun and exciting. But let's talk about what's going on this week. So as far as the event keys this time around, we have Kazil. So if you look inside Kazil, we can see who we get. Sorting by base rarity. So if you're opening up event keys, these are the troops that you'll potentially be able to snag. Stonehammer I rate is kind of like a low tier mythic. As far as what he does, he seems a lot cooler than he actually is. So if you're trying to get Stonehammer, he's absolutely in there. He creates a bunch of mana, he stuns and burns all enemies. He's like the tankiest dude in the game, at least for now. So overall, not a bad troop to have. He's worth snagging if you don't have him, although admittedly he's not used all that much. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be using him in the event this week. Gorgotha is also someone who's pretty cool. Just blow up the entire board and cleanse himself. Also extremely tanky. So if you don't have Gorgotha and you're having trouble with mana generation, he's somebody that can really help you out. King Highforge is kind of a staple for any dwarf lineup, so he's giving everybody 50% mana start for dwarves. He also is able to summon dwarves, and he does some okay damage in stunning the last two people. So overall, pretty cool troop, especially if you're doing a dwarf lineup or if you'd like to run Rune Priest. Very cool. And probably most notably from my perspective is Gimlet. So Gimlet again is empowered, so he'll start with full mana. He also transforms all greens to browns. I use Gimlet probably in like at least 25% of the teams that I make, so extremely strong troop. If you don't have him already and you're opening up event keys, you're more than likely going to snag him at some point, so if you do, then that's awesome. Gimlet's used pretty much everywhere. Beyond all of that, the event that we have this time around is a raid boss on the PC and other platform minus Switch side. So again, you're going to be in here and you're going to be doing boss fights, and ultimately you're just going to get to Zool, who you're just going to fight over and over and over again. You need to put together Kazil troops. If you're trying to put together just like a smash and grab kind of team, this team is definitely going to work. I suspect I'd be able to run this team as high up as I want. There's absolutely other teams you can make, however, this is a team that I think pretty much anybody would be able to put together. Gorgotha isn't especially rare, especially for opening up event keys this week. You're more than likely to snag him in there. So again, run this with a Titan. This is going to make browns, this is going to make browns. He's just going to be barrier the whole time. You're going to be stealing attack with Mang and then hitting them with skulls that happen to pop down, and Gorgotha will just make sure that everybody stays full. So if you're doing the event this week, this is a very dumb and easy kind of team you can throw together. There's obviously other teams you can snap together, but I'm almost positive this will be extremely effective going through your raid boss fight if you're looking for something simple to use. Beyond all of that, we do have some other new stuff. So troop-wise, we're getting Mortlock Stoutbeard. So he's your normal boss killing kind of guy. So he does 28 damage to an enemy, and then it does 3 to 5 times based on their ascensions. The other thing that's interesting is that he's jumbling all the enemies. So where this is kind of cool in a raid boss scenario is that normally Zool's sitting all the way at the bottom. If you're using that lineup that I just showed you, for instance, the only damage you can do to Zool is from your skulls. So you kind of have to kill everybody on the list first. If you cast Mortlock, you might potentially just put Zool up at the top and he's the first dude you smack, so that could be pretty cool. Beyond all of that, he has this Godslayer thing, so 3 to 5 skull damage to bosses based on your ascensions. That's obviously normal. Nothing else really special about him. So this jumbling thing you can potentially use if you want to just mess up the board and possibly get Zool sitting up top. I don't necessarily prefer to put him in my lineup. That lineup that I showed you before seems like it's going to be a lot more stable. You could potentially replace Gorgotha with this guy, but I really wouldn't want to give up Apothecary and Gimlet. You could potentially get rid of Gimlet and put this guy instead. They share the same kind of mana, and at least you have another boss killer troop. But for me, when it comes to boss fights, I don't find this guy particularly interesting. And I'd rather have tons and tons and tons of brown mana, so I always ensure that I have that barrier up, so that way my main guy can just keep doing his thing up top. But you do you. If you like this guy, then certainly, by all means, go for it. We also have Thunderforge, so this is a construct dwarf type thing, so it gives somebody 23 armor and 4 attack, and then if they're a dwarf, it doubles the effect. So this is kind of like, you probably saw I was looking at Runesmith before. He's very, very similar to that, only somewhat worse, kind of. So, I mean, he's only giving armor and a little bit of attack. So giving someone a bunch of armor, there's some synergies here with some of this stuff. But overall, I find this troop just okay. I would never put a troop like this in my first slot. He has no loot potential, so this is not somebody I'd ever put in the first slot. He's naturally immune to everything, like all dwarves seem to be. And then he gets 2 armor every 4 to 5 match. Overall, I think this troop is not great. I can't see myself really ever using this. If you're trying to just like stat pump, there's probably other ways that you could potentially be doing it. And stat pumping and giving up your turn to do it is usually not the best use of your resources. So not something I'd be overly interested in, personally at least. We also got this other weapon. So this is kind of in the same vein as all the other weapons we've been getting, as I've said. So it does 29 damage, boosted by your Kazil allies, so that's like, an okay amount of damage. But then it does a mix of 6 red and brown for each Kazil ally. So if you have a bunch of dwarves from Kazil on your team, certainly for the event this week, this would give you a bunch of red and brown gems, so you could potentially be using this with a bunch of other dwarves, and then you generate a bunch of red and brown mana, and then you could hopefully be looping with something else. I think I would still prefer the team that I showed you before, but certainly you could be mixing and matching. The game wants you to be using the new troop they just popped out and this new weapon, so I'm sure you can throw together something pretty decent with that. I don't have Rune Priest leveled myself personally, so I'm going to be going with the tried and true Titan build that I showed before. So that is pretty much everything that's going on the PC side. So on the Switch side of things, I saw that you guys have a Guild Wars this time. So for Guild Wars, again, when you jump into Guild Wars, you have to set your defenses, set your attacks. I will quickly remind you people on the Switch that when it comes to your defenses, you do not need to set defenses that are all the right color. So if we look at some of my defense teams, for instance, this is I use this on Red Day, and these people don't have red mana. So there's really no reason to be matching your color days to the color that's going on. So again, I would use this on Purple Day, and I don't have a single purple here. You don't have to worry about matching colors on your defense teams. Where you do need to worry about matching colors is on your attack teams. So on your attack teams, you do have to have, like this is Red Day, you have to have everybody with red if you want the maximum score that you can possibly have. Green Day, everybody's got green in some capacity. So when you're attacking, try and use a team that's made up of purely a specific color. When you're defending, you don't need to be matching any colors whatsoever. Just make sure that you're using unique troops. So for all of the different days when you set your defenses, make sure that none of these are the same. So you use a new troop in every single slot. You'll get the maximum bonus, and you know, if you'll also get the maximum bonus if you're color matching your attack teams. So that's overall Guild Wars, so I hope you guys have an awesome Guild Wars. I saw that you also have in your event keys, you guys are doing Merlantis. So if we go over here to Merlantis and sort, so you guys would potentially be able to get Undyne. So Undyne is really strong on Guild Wars Day for blue. So if it's a blue day on, if you can see that the other team is attacking on blue day, so this guy, what he's going to do is silence all blue enemies, so that's extremely strong. He also does 25 damage to a couple people, and then he submerges pretty much everyone that's blue on your team. So theoretically, you could be doing a really nice combination with him. You could silence everybody in the other team and potentially submerge a bunch of people on your side. He also submerges himself every turn, so that's pretty cool. So if you're able to put together a lineup where you can get him mana on Blue Guild Wars Day and you have him on defense, you could really mess up the other team when they're trying to attack with 4 blue troops. He's going to silence every single one of them if you're able to feed him mana somehow with your defense team. So somebody that's definitely cool. I think he's probably used most on Guild Wars Days compared to everything else. You guys also have Nemu. So Nemu I saw was released new this week for you guys. Nemu is actually really, really great. So what Nemu does is one of these skull conversion type troops. So she's going to turn all yellow gems to skulls and then red gems to purple. And then she's also silencing 2 of the strongest enemies. So that overall is really, really nice. As far as transformations go, anyone that's doing skulls and then something else is nice. But what's also cool about her is that she's turning red to purple. She's purple herself, so she's somebody that could potentially just loop into herself. So that's always super nice. Very cool troop. Again, from a Guild Wars perspective, it could be very nice to add to your lineup. Somebody else that's cool that's in the lineup for you guys would be Azora. So Azora is somebody that just kind of blows up the board, but then she decreases a random skill in the entire enemy team by some number. For me, it's 10. So for mana generation, she's really nice. She's going to blow up the board, get you a bunch of mana. This decreasing skill thing is kind of sneaky. Like, it can do magic, it can do defense, it can do their health, so it could do their attack. So when you're just popping her off over and over and over again, you're kind of just making the other team weaker and weaker and weaker, so that's pretty cool. She also gains a magic every time an ally casts a spell, so if you're in a very loop-heavy lineup, you can see how this thing would go from like 10 to 11 to 12 to 13, and so every time you shoot her off, you're just getting higher and higher magic and gimping them more and more and more when you cast her. So definitely somebody that's pretty nice. The other new troop that you guys got was Mantis Shrimp. So Mantis Shrimp is okay. So he does 21 true damage to an enemy, and he knocks them to the last position, and then he submerges himself. So true damage, of course, is where it just hits their health directly, so it ignores the armor that they have and just goes straight for their health. So 21 true damage is pretty solid. Knocking them to the last position is kind of cool. You can imagine if you go up against a lineup where they have a very tanky person in their top slot and he's going to be taking all that skull damage and you're never really going to be able to kill him that way. You could use somebody like this guy, hit that person, and then it'll knock him to the bottom, and then all the nice squishy people are sitting up top for you to do your skull damage with. So, you know, repositioning type troops like this, they always have some potential to be useful. Admittedly, this one doesn't seem especially great. I don't know if I'd really ever try and use this guy. I've never traded him, so you can see I've probably never used this guy. But he does have the fast start, so he could start with 50% mana. He doesn't really take a ton of mana himself, so more than likely in one turn you'd be able to just get him full, swap up the other team, and then maybe his entire use, as far as you're concerned, is over at that point. But overall, not the worst thing on the planet. But that really covers everything as far as what's coming out this week, what's new for everybody. So hopefully everyone on the Switch side has a successful Guild Wars. Hopefully everyone on the PC side has a nice raid boss. Again, keep your eyes on the flash offers as far as those new weapons. Keep your eye on the soulforge so you can see when those new weapons are popping up for availability. But overall, that's this week's preview. So again, I'm Keylime signing off, and thanks again guys for watching my videos. Talk to you later.